Friends, today we celebrate the feast day of Saint Frances Xavier Cabrini. She was born Maria Cabrini, I believe, in the 1850s to Italian parents in Lombardy, Italy. So she was an Italian immigrant. She was the youngest of 13, so she was the baby. She always aspired for the religious life, even at a young age. Matter of fact, she wanted to go to China and be a missionary. During the 17th and 18th century, Asia, especially Southeast Asia, was from Korea to Japan and China and everywhere in between, was a hot missionary area for all Jesuits and religious throughout the world. But she had really bad health. She had chronic health issues. She was small in stature, and it led her to many religious orders actually rejected her. So she was denied many times. And by God's grace, she wound up undeterred. She founded her own order, the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart, around the 1880s. So took her until her late 20s, early 30s, and then she finally started her own order, initially focusing on Italian orphanages and schools. So she was all about the poor and education, which is after my own heart. Saint Pope Leo XIII, around the 1890s, redirected her personally, and her famous telling, the Pope told her not to go to East, but to the West. And so she wanted to be a missionary in China. The Pope told her, go to the West. And really, it was obviously a good idea, because there was a lot of need in the United States at the time. There was no education. Cabrini came from a wealthy family. And so she specifically served the Italian immigrants that were coming in waves, German and Irish immigrants as well, in the 1890s, New York. And she was with about 6 other sisters, I believe, and they confronted the dire poverty. A lot of people were escaping war and famine and turmoil, political issues in Europe, and so the United States was an easy solution to start over. So there was a lot of poor people coming over, and most of them were sick on the boats, and when they came to Ellis Island to go through immigration, etc., they had to stay in another island for those who were sick. Over the next 28 plus years, her frail, remember she was just prone to getting sick, and her frail, what they call constitution, she traveled constantly, and she probably didn't get a lot of rest. And so, and she went over to Europe and back and forth a dozen times. So she also was traveling a lot, not only through the Americas, but Europe. And she was quite the frugal and prudent administrator. So she did a lot of administration work, especially securing funding from the wealthy to help serve the poor and start schools. What else did she do? She also kind of, before Social Security, she had funds, and she got donors to give surplus wealth to her and her order, where she directed it to social services in Italy, the Italian poor, healthcare and education, and so forth. She wanted to preserve, they say, the cultural identity of those immigrants while facilitating their American, immigration, their integration into American society. She also established a network of schools throughout the country, about 80, almost 90 institutions. She was, and it wasn't just schools, it was also hospitals. throughout Central and South America. I forgot to say it. She's not just in the United States, but she also went through the Americas, Central and South as well. Her Columbus Hospital in New York was kind of like the flagship hospital, and it was a model for all healthcare at the time. She navigated complex church politics, which I've been a little bit a part of, and I've seen, and it's what it is. So she's a hero of mine because of that. She managed financial difficulties during the 30s, during the Great Depression, and she finally, I guess, became a citizen like in the 1910s. So she was an immigrant herself, and she was a great saint for the immigrants. And even to this day, all those who have immigrated to the United States, pray to Francis Xavier Cabrini. Pray for this president and this administration to create, with both sides of the aisle, but they need to create some reasonable immigration policies because we have a lot of people in need, and there is need for them as well. We could use more immigrants in our country to help. We can share. That's what I tell all people. Don't be anti-immigrant. Everyone in this country came from immigrants. All of us came from immigrants, except for the Native Americans. And so, last but not least, she died in Chicago around the late teens, so 1917, 18. She was actually doing something simple as giving out candy, preparing candy like stockings for Christmas for the orphans. So that was close to her heart as well. And so she lived almost to be 70, but because of her health, she was limited. She was canonized right away, about 25 years later, maybe more, actually it's about 28, 29 years later. Sorry, my head is fuzzy. And she was the first American citizen declared a saint. So she's our first American saint. And Frances Xavier was, an immigrant herself. She addressed the two needs that were most important for immigrants, which are also important today. And we have the resources to do it. So I think Xavier Cabrini is a perfect saint to run to during these times. She remains the patron saint of all immigrants, and she's recognized for her advocacy and promoting well-being and welfare for all immigrants, their healthcare needs and education needs, those who are displaced, those who are marginalized. We have millions in our country. Now it's our turn to take care of that. Our country is always transforming because of immigration and because of, it's natural. Countries rise and fall, they change, they adapt, they're organic. Xavier Cabrini was at the heart of a lot of that in the 1850s until her death in the 1920s, late 19 teens, I think. So invoke her intercession, pray for our immigrants, and yes, today is St. Francis Xavier Cabrini Day. God bless, and I'll see you at Mass.